with your business or your campaign, please reach out to us because we are currently seeking sponsorships to keep the lights on. Trust, we make no money from this. This is all the money goes to literally paying our bills. So we can keep bringing you fun content and all things local. So we were chatting a little bit before we started. I guess anybody got any? I mean, it's only been a week since we saw y'all. So, I mean.
The only thing I got is we had our first public hearing for the budget last night, and there was a grand total of one member of the public in the audience.
Sorry,
live.
Did you say final?
No, the first.
Oh, the first. Okay, sorry.
We had one member in the audience live and one member on Zoom.
They're all going to show up the day of the vote.
and then complain about what's in the budget.
And then kvetch, yes, exactly. Josh, are you keeping your millage rate the same?
No,
No? Oh, yeah, you're raising
raised
it. That's right, because of projects.
Infrastructure
Projects. All right. What about you, Jess?
I don't really have any updates. I do believe that the first public hearing for Palm Beach County's budget is September 11th at 5:05, or September 10th at 5:05.
Broward's was tonight.
Well, if you're with us, then I guess you missed that. But you can go on and watch it. All of them are recorded. Yeah.
They would just smile and nod and thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your comments, just like commissioners do.
We're going to pass this anyways.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for your comments. There was, so a couple of housekeeping things as far as our upcoming guests and dates. So I wanted everybody to mark their calendars so you don't miss an episode. Our next episode is going to be September 19th, and our guest for that episode is going to be Sam Stern. He is running for the state attorney's office, which is opened up as a seat. It's an open seat for the first time in almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Dave Ehrenberg is the current state attorney, and he has held that seat since 2005, and he has chosen not to run this year. And so it is an open seat. So Sam Stern will be here. And then October, due to the Jewish holidays, our episodes have shifted in October. So we are going to be going live on October 17th and October 31st.
Ooh. Special Halloween episode.
Special Halloween
Spooky episode.
Spooky dookie. Sorry. Somebody used to call my kids diapers. Spooky dookies. I promise it's only water in here. It's just been a really long week.
For a short week.
For a short week, exactly. And but October 17th, our guests are yet to be announced. We're just waiting for confirmation. So stay tuned to all of our socials to find out who's going to be joining us those weeks. And so I just have a couple quick things that I want to throw out there, and then we'll start chatting with Andrea a little bit more. I attended this morning a meeting in Delray Beach called the Elders Table. Which is put on by a group called The Set. So there's the families in Delray and Boynton Beach that have been there for generations. And let me just tell you that Democrats are organized. Mm-hmm. And we always say that, but it is amazing watching it happen. They were in there discussing how they are working on phone banking and recruiting for phone banking. And the DNC is training their people on how to use their phone banking technology so they can phone bank from home. And they're currently calling undecided voters, NPAs, I'm guessing, to convince them to vote for their preferred candidate. And I just was struck again how organized they are. I mean, they have their moments of infighting. They're little cuckoo bananas. And I got this, I forgot to bring it with me. It's in my van. This newsletter called the Democrat News or something like that. And they have a whole article in there about how Florida is in play, that it is not a red state, that it is an under-organized blue state. And I just think we need to take those words and not rest on our laurels that we are riding a red wave going into our last red wave going into November, but that we are going to have to fight to keep our seats, keep what we have, and to take a little more ground if we want. So we cannot rest on the fact that Florida is now red. Because they are fighting
especially in this area.
Right, especially in this area, in our area here. Yeah. So they are fighting to try to take Florida back. They are very ticked that they have lost, and they want it back. So I found that very interesting. There was a lot more observations that I could go into from that meeting today, but it was fascinating. Although it was really funny because the one person that I sat in the room, so of course one of the ladies starts talking about gun control, their favorite topic, and he's sitting with the one guy in the room that has to be somewhat conservative, and he's sitting next to me because he goes, "They ain't taking my guns." I was like, "Mine either." And we had a moment where I was like, "Okay." And there was a lot of focus on the black female vote And he was very not happy about that. He said, well, nobody wants my vote. They're only going after the female vote. They're not coming after my vote. Nobody wants my vote. I was like, I'll take your vote. We'll take it over here, right here. I will earn your vote. What can we do to earn your vote? So
You can keep your gun.
you can keep your gun if you vote for us. So I just thought it was an interesting morning. I learned a lot, and I highly recommend.
That wasn't the first time you've been to that meeting.
That
is
was the
it?
first time I've been to
it
that
was.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of the other ones, and I always recommend people find out what's going on in your area. And these meetings are open to the public. We just don't know about them. A lot of them are open to the public.
That's the thing too, and a lot of people don't understand is the fact that there is way more to politics than your local BRAC or your local REC, and something like the Set is similar.
Yeah.
And you have Delray Alliance, you have Cobra, all of these
West
things
Boca Council
are all part of our political apparatus.
Yeah.
And in Palm Beach County, in just all honesty, like our REC leadership, people, new in the party do not have any understanding of
I didn't, so I don't blame anybody. We really
I
only
didn't
found
either.
this through campaigning and being in government.
Through
and
our multiple years of experience. Of where we actually know kind of what we're doing and what's going on in politics
we do know.
locally, whether it's Broward or Palm Beach County. And we shoot ourselves in the foot because we do not pay attention to really what's going on in local politics. And local politics means knowing what our voters and the constituents are looking for and what they want. We have to start learning how to meet the voters where they are and message to them in a positive, constructive way to empower them to vote for our candidates. And right now that is not happening.
No, and it can happen in a lot of ways. I mean, I was at an event this week for the Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce. Huge event. They sold out at a business expo, and it was packed. So business owners and all kinds of people. I don't know. It was open to the public. So if you were a business owner, you could buy a table, and otherwise everyone else was just welcome to come and check out businesses. So like there's the Boynton Beach Chamber of Commerce is taking off right now. And so then there's the Boca. And so like there's all different organizations. If you're a business owner, if you are, if you're a parent and get involved in the PTA and start connecting there, because all of these are things that are part of the political apparatus, because this is where people talk. And this is where people go to build community and to build relationships with those in their area. And if we're not there, how can we then go out and ask someone to vote for our candidates or vote for ourselves or whatever? We have to
It's where
be
they
involved.
get most of their political information.
Yeah.
They take that as news and they don't go home and vet the information. They just take it as gospel and
literally
that's what
because
they
we
spread
were in a
around.
church.
Yeah.
Like they literally take it as gospel in this church and walk out that's where the meeting was today at the Set, and walk out with whatever they were told by the powers that be in that room.
Well, and beyond that, really, when you talk about local politics, it is so much the business owners and the residents who live there that, a lot of the people I speak to, and it comes through the charity scene.
Yep.
And, you're just local clubs.
Yep.
Even your golf clubs, your yacht clubs.
Exactly.
All that, Palm Beach and Broward, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's where people are conversing with each other, building their businesses, networking, their families are all together. And, that's really where you can meet so many more people without the overall politics.
Right.
But figure out who's like-minded, who wants to know more, and then when they realize that you are in politics, they'll start asking you questions.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, I think, a great way to just diversify and get to know everybody.
Exactly. It's true. And that's how we build community. And that's how too we find bridges to connect. Like I'm sitting in this room, this guy, I don't know who he's going to vote for. Obviously, he sounds like he said, I'm not voting for Democrats anymore. This might be the first time he's ever considered that because of what he's seeing. But I just found it very fascinating that there was that was the one person I was sitting next to in the entire room. And you never know, like me being there and me saying that might have helped fortify his journey of, no, I'm on a good path. Like this, I'm not, alone in this world or whatever it may be. So you never know what someone else's journey that they're going through, that you might be in that right moment to help them to answer a question or to help them verbally process what they're thinking and what they're going through. And that's how people come out. That's why there's the walk away movement in the Democrat world, literally by building relationships and hearing other people talk to them is what I've heard so many of these stories is I finally listened to one thing that one person said to me and it caused me to break out of the matrix. And so, yeah, exactly. So anyway, we could talk about this all night and I'm sure we'll circle back to it. But so Andrea, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're doing. Give us a little background, and we'll delve into questions.
Okay, thanks. I'll try and go quickly through. I have a very roundabout
We got time.
Squiggly
This is what we do.
background.
We're gonna chat.
So I was born and raised Pompano. So this is
Born and raised Floridian.
born and
Wow.
raised Floridian. I know, a native on their own city
Oh,
commission.
yeah.
It's weird.
Crazy.
And so yeah, my both sides of my family got here in about the 50s and 60s. So yeah, I went to University of Miami after school, and actually down there I majored in. Hey, we won this weekend.
Wah, wah.
This is my age, me, but I was back there during the national championship years, so I bleed orange and green. But no, I was a film major down there, film and poli-sci were my
Okay.
two majors down in Miami. And so actually, I never really thought I was going to get into politics. My dad's a trial attorney, and he's run judicial races, so I've always grown up around it. But I never thought I would step into it. No. So after film school, I moved to Los Angeles for a while. Worked in movies and TV.
Anything we know?
Balls of Fury was the ping pong kung fu comedy.
Uh-huh.
That was my first classic, best ever ping pong kung fu comedy. Reno 911.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I don't always know the pop culture references, so like I'll ask, but I'll be like, yeah.
Josie let a sheltered child.
I had a shelter child.
The other
That's
ones were
right.
like low budget stuff. You probably wouldn't. But so I did that for a little bit, and then the writer's strike back in 2004 dried up all the work out west. So I was sort of figuring out what I wanted to do. Was trying to actually maybe get to New York or whatever, but then I ended up getting to DC and working in real estate acquisitions and development.
That's quite a.
It is and it's not. I realized what I have a passion for doing is creating, is having something, working a project, and at the end of it, like having something to show for it. And so I found that real estate development and film production were very similar in the process.
I can see that.
Start with an idea, then you get a script or a blueprint, you find the funding, bring together the crew, and film crew and construction crew, very similar. Bring it all together, and at the end of the day, you have something to say, I built that building, or I made this movie, and it's like a finalized
really
project.
Good. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
totally different, but the same. And then when I was home, and then the entire economy collapsed in 2008. When Bear Stearns went down, I was like, this is going to be bad. Started prepping for business school. By the time Lehman went down and, everything stopped.
That was a weird day.
That was a bad day.
That was a really weird day.
I still can't watch The Big Short without getting, like, a little bit teary. Like, it's still too close. But, so I came back. I'd already gotten into business school and came back to Miami for that, and then switched to MFA, was trying to figure out where I was going. They canceled my program on me, so there was like, well, that's not happening. And similarly around that time, my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and so I started being home more and helping out with that. Got into doing real estate, normal real estate, and became a real estate broker. And then somewhere along the lines, in 2014, I got real frustrated with just a lot of it tied back to the economic collapse and how they just kind of blanket policied paying off banks and saving different things as opposed to...
Too big to fail.
Very much. As opposed to what they could have done, which was like look at each homeowner, for instance, and reassess their mortgage rate at what the real market value of their house should have been, kept them in their homes, and then, had a smaller bailout type thing for the difference, but then kept, just little things that were frustrating. And then watching even our party taking stances on one way that was just too harsh, that you could tell we're going to alienate voters for no reason. And so we'd always talk to my dad about him running, and he just would never do it. And I said, well, what do we think if I run? Which turned into my first race was in 2014 to run for Congressional District 22, which was at that time Lois Frankel's seat.
That's still Lois Frankel's seat.
I don't think it's not 22 anymore.
Yeah.
Now,
20
Nope,
or
it's
22?
22.
Oh, it is 22.
Is it
It's still
right.
22.
Oh,
It's still
it moved around a couple times.
Yeah.
Then.
It's still 22.
So yeah, I started doing that. I didn't get through primaries that year, and then came back the next year. Well, then they redistricted, so then I did run against Ted Deutsch all the way through the general election. And at that time, it was still District 22, but now District 22 was in Broward. And my big issue with him was, he always voted party line, 100%. You can have different policies, but at least have your own. And then he also, because of the redistrict, he really did get the fuzzy end of the lollipop on that one, where no one lived here. Him and Lois both lived in the new, I believe it was 21 at the time. And so he lived way, way west in Boca. I'm like, you don't know Broward. You don't know this district. And I'm a big fan of representing where you're from.
Yeah.
Don't go district chasing. If you're going to represent a place you're not from, at least live there for a minute to.
Understand?
What a concept.
It's weird, isn't it? Like the
Cocoa
fact that-
bananas.
the fact you don't have to do that for Congress is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Do they have to live there once they swear in?
They have to have an
technically,
address.
Yes, it's usually like a studio they've rented somewhere.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a weird loophole that should have been closed so long ago. Because how do you represent a populace you don't know?
Right.
So after that race, where I had
Because it's not about representing the populace.
right, I'm an idealist with that. I try.
It's just a crazy concept.
So weird. But yeah, no. So at that one,
Make sure you pull the microphone.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I want to make sure we hear your voice.
so on that one, I was really still unknown candidate. Fundraising was a pain in the butt, and I think I ran the entire race on something like 25 grand.
Wow.
There's a lot of hoof in it on that one.
Yeah. How many miles did you walk?
A lot. More driving. I would jump from the different early voting sites to early voting sites and try and make friends with people.
This is before vote by mail when elections were simple.
Oh, no, it's no simple about this. I had to make friends with people. Could you hand out my card too? So yeah, and actually I got right around 41% of the vote on that one.
That's
I look
incredible.
back,
Wow.
I'm like, if I could have just gotten my filing fee back, I could have afforded a mail out.
How much was the filing fee then?
$10,440.
Oh, so it's about now.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah, it's about
amount.
the same.
Yeah.
Which it's hefty.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like, once you get into it, you're like, all these things that this could have bought.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
I remember asking different people in the party, be like, I don't need more. Just give me that back.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to invest in me. Just give me that back. But no, it was a great learning experience, and that's how I got to know and meet
So
everyone
what
in Breck.
year was it that you did that?
That was
with?
2016.
2016. Okay.
And that's how I got to get, PBREC and Breck and a lot of players that are still around, which has been great because you get to, I don't know, it becomes more family.
Yeah.
You know, and so I contemplated doing the Ted Deutsch race again. But at that point then, I think like 7 other people decided that, this is a winnable race.
What? That district being a jungle primary?
Yeah.
6 people, 8 people? I mean, it's still like
it
that
wasn't
today.
when I did it.
Still
It
like
wa-
this.
it
We had
wasn't when
6
I did it.
people in
I
23.
know. And I couldn't get the state or national to really give that district a chance because it's Broward.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm not going to do that. At the same time, a seat opened up on my city commission because my predecessor decided to run for mayor. And I looked at my city and I looked at the fact that we were in the very beginning of this massive Renaissance redevelopment happening. And I looked at the makeup of the city commission. I said, there's no one on here with real estate or development experience. And said,
Maybe they should.
I said, you know what? I can do a lot of good right here, right now, and ran for that seat, and have been there since I was 2018. I've been there for 6 years. I've been vice mayor for the last 2 years, and I represent us on MPO. I just got on the MPO exec board. I'm
What's
chair
that
of
stand for?
Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Okay.
They're the ones who pretty much plan and help design all of the transportation throughout the county.
Oh, okay.
We work with Turnpike and FDOT and 95 and Brightline.
They're
and
the
Tri-Rail.
they're the Broward equivalent of whatever Marcy sits on.
Mm-hmm. Transportation Authority.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got all the letters.
They're
mixed
they're the agency that decide who gets the money in
she
the
sits on a
cities.
transportation and she sits on a on the.
She's on the Tri-Rail and the
I don't know.
A lot of us are on
I can't
multiple
remember.
ones that
Yeah.
all cross over.
Yes.
It's like I'm on that one, but I'm also chair of another one called MTech, which is the Metro Transportation Engineering Construction Cooperative. That one's, there's a lot of that one.
A lot of letters. A lot of words.
And the idea behind that one was to help streamline the surtax
TPA.
budget.
TPA.
Was to help.
Wait, that's the one that controls the county surtax?
We don't. That was the initial idea behind it, but the county said, no, you're not going to help us do that.
MPO's doing it.
MPO's not doing it. County's doing it. County is in charge of county surplus dollars.
They've
So-
paid out so little of that surplus.
we know.
That surtax.
Where do they have this? Just in reserves
It's just
It's sitting there.
it's stashed away.
for a rainy day.
So the idea behind what we've created was to have like a library of contractors and engineers already vetted and know the process and help do the paperwork. So like for bigger cities, their staff is already, usually at capacity. So anything we can take off their lap and handle, we can do. Or little cities that don't have that kind of staff, they can come in. And then the real cool part of it would be is if neighboring cities are doing similar projects. So like if you guys and us if Lighthouse Point and Pompano were both doing sidewalk projects, we could make it one massive project, go out for a better competitive bid, and coordinate the whole thing.
Would you have to sign an interlocal agreement if you do something like that?
That's the cooperative part of it. So each city signs into being part of the cooperative to do this.
Isn't the state making you guys do that anyway?
Yeah, there was some legislation passed where, yes. Who were we talking about that on a previous
I
episode?
can't remember. Earth Jessica.
I don't know if they had it as organized as having the actual contractors.
No. It's actually, that would
Like
be
the
much smarter.
The interlocal
That would be
part
smart.
of it.
The
Oh,
interlocal part of
yeah.
it, like if you want it, they all have to sign into interlocal agreements by October 1st of this year. Is that happening?
I think so. I can't remember who I was talking. Maybe it was at League of Cities we were talking about it.
But which interlocal? Like, there's a lot of interlocal agreements.
No, that like all of the cities and counties have to sign some type of interlocal agreement in order for like a development, like roads or something like that. I can't remember. Is that ring a bell for anyone?
We got nothing in the chat. Actually,
Guys.
we have a YouTube. We have someone in the chat on YouTube. Jack from Boca. He's on Twitter and he's like big into like
Cool.
polling and stats and like
Oh,
that kind of
nice.
stuff.
Hi, Jack from Boca.
Hi, Jack.
Hello.
I might need some polling. Could you poll the audience and help us figure out what this interlocal agreement I'm talking about is? I should probably look up stuff before I start talking.
My guess is that one might be for state-run roads, just to
Maybe.
it might be an interlocal agreement that the state can do like the repaving and stuff.
I don't know. I just remember a lot of the cities are like, this doesn't sound like fun.
All I
That's
know.
like, there are so many. Like, there's an interlocal trash agreement. There's an interlocal school.
Are you're not involved in the garbage group, are you?
No, because Pompano has.
Oh,
its
you
own-
opted out.
We
You're the
opted
one.
out years ago, and we have a better.
So what do you do with your
contract.
trash?
We have our own contract that's actually at a better rate than what they.
But
keep
what do you do with
offering
the
us.
trash?
Coastal picks it up. And
Oh, you have it with Coastal?
Yeah,
And
we're
they
with
take
Coastal.
it.
We're with, I believe, the Broward landfill.
Okay.
We have our own contract with the trash people, the own contract with the landfill, and right now it's a long contract, so that's why we haven't gotten involved with the.
You're like, don't need that.
Well, it's just it would be so much more costly for
Yeah.
our tax base. Like it
Yeah.
would be irresponsible of us to go that route at this point, and they haven't been able to get to a point where it's clear even what the price is.
Right.
So.
Okay, so with Pompano, you said the mayor decided, your predecessor decided to run for mayor. Is it a strong mayor city or is it a city manager city?
Nope, city manager city.
Is your predecessor Rex?
No. My predecessor was Mike Sobel.
Oh, okay. He ran for mayor. He was
ran.
not successful.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So you said a city manager, right? Yeah. So for our listeners, just a reminder, a strong mayor city is what Abby has, which is Lighthouse Point, and that means the mayor's in charge, and the council, but has a higher level of vote. Not level of vote. But
He's the executive of the city.
He's the executive.
We're
of
the
the city.
legislative body of the city.
Exactly. But in a city manager, the city manager is the executive of the city, and the mayor is more honorary. They run the
Figurehead,
figurehead.
yeah.
They run the meetings, and
Cut
everyone has
ribbons.
equal, and sign documents.
What have
Gavel.
you, as in the past 2 years as vice mayor, like what additional responsibilities has that been?
Mostly it's more of covering what the mayor can't make.
Okay.
When it comes to panels or ribbon cuttings and those types of things. But honestly, our mayor is very active. I've only really got tapped in recently when he was taking his kids up to college, moving them in. But no, it's mostly that, and also what is good and why I think it should rotate around and everyone should experience it. It's kind of being number two in the meeting, so you pay more attention to the whole Robert's rules and how to actually run a meeting in
Yeah.
case you ever have to.
Yeah.
Seems
So-
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, our commission president
It
runs
is.
the meeting, and the vice president, in his or her absence, will run the meeting. And so, you generally, that goes. It gets passed around from year to year. So, like, my time is coming probably in several years, towards the end of my first term.
How long is your term?
4 years.
How long is your term?
Two.
And is there a term limit, or can you run?
We
as-
don't have a term
You
limit.
don't have term.
Do you guys have term limit?
Mm-hmm. Voters voted in 2018, so it's
Yeah.
3-4 year terms.
3-4 year terms.
And then I think it's different. Like you can term out as commissioner, but then you can run for mayor and have
Yeah,
3 additional
That's
terms.
the same as in Boca.
Yeah.
So Boca is 2 3-year terms. Not
That's
4.
pretty short.
Not 4. Right. Well, they tried to lengthen it, and we said no.
We stopped that.
We stopped that.
But see, I'm not against term limits, but I do think it needs to be longer. I think the 12-year is a decent time period, just because politics moves at such a
So
glacial
So slow.
Well, we didn't have. So the issue with Boca was not so much that they wanted an extra year; it's that they wanted an extra year for themselves, and
They wanted to time it to where they were rolling. Some people were rolling off of the council, but could run for something else.
Right.
That was,
so
there was
our
no gap.
mayor had been appointed as the mayor because he was the vice mayor, and the mayor got arrested.
I remember.
Yeah. So he had an extra year as the mayor, and then he was still eligible to run for 2 more terms. And so then with this, he would have been mayor for 10 years, which normally it's 6 years. So somehow he was like almost 10 years. Maybe it was 9 years. I can't remember. Anyway, so there was that. And then, but the biggest issue is we didn't have anyone on the ballot because there was no, it was
There were no
uncontested
candidates
elections.
on the ballot.
And so they decided to still put this on the ballot and pay $250,000 to have an election to vote for this instead of just waiting until there was another
Like
year.
this November.
Yeah,
or
some other
this
time where we were
March.
already paying for an election. So we said no. We organized and got them to got people. We won handily.
So now your guys' term, you term out at 6 years?
So it's still 2 6-year term, 2 3-year terms, and then you could run for mayor. So yeah. So again, I'm not exactly opposed to a 4-year term. It was just the way they did it was
Yeah.
just not. No, it was not cool. So that was
Yeah, they could have done it way different.
they could have done it a lot different
and saved us money.
a lot of money.
Lighthouse Point would have had an election for that. That's for sure.
You wouldn't have.
To pay them that kind of money to have an election?
No.
No.
No, yeah, it was like $250,000
Yeah.
for nothing. It was stupid. Anyway,
And we tried to change around the terms and then alternate the terms because right now,
Everybody
everyone's
runs
the
every 2
same.
years?
The mayor has 4-year term, but
But
everyone
all the
else-
commissioners.
everyone's every 2 years.
oh, so
That's
that's
tough
not good.
for
That's not,
municipals.
yeah, because then that's also not good. Like continuance of government, it's like
Right.
stops every. Yeah, that's kind
And then you spend most of your time campaigning.
You spend a lot of time campaigning.
yeah.
Yeah.
So ours and Boca are on rotations, so you at least have the same like 2 or 3 people.
We were trying to do that, but then the group that came out ran an anti-campaign, but not about what we were actually voting on. It was like, vote no, no, no. And,
that was one of the no's.
well, no, it was like there's 3 things, and they just went with it. And we're like, your signs aren't even about what we're running. Like, it has nothing. It was just completely.
But people vote what they're told to vote for on signs.
And again, you're blocked as a city to promote what the side you would want because the city can't take a stance like that or put out.
Right.
We can only put out educational, informational, and that can't be.
You can't take a side on like amendments or charter amendments or
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
And so when one little group decides to come out and
So like I don't know, in Boca, I'm trying to remember. I probably shouldn't say this. I don't know. Like you're not supposed to endorse candidates necessarily. Like it's not like a good practice, but does your it's not illegal or it's not against the charter, but it's just kind of I don't know. It's weird when
It's frowned upon.
yeah, but
I
ours
think.
do it. Do you guys do that? Like our mayor endorsed my opponent running against me in the city council race that I was running in 2021.
candidates can usually it's only done like if it's someone that did, like if your mayor like had a history with that person and really knew them. It can be done, sometimes done.
Sometimes then,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just curious if other cities. Does your city do people like the mayor? Will they endorse?
I don't know
or
if
is
like
it
the
kind of-
current, like I remember, we didn't have an election this year. Everybody ran out of post. But 2 years ago when there was like hot races in the city,
contested races.
I know former mayors all endorsed.
Former's different.
Yeah, but I don't think the current commission or mayors publicly endorsed.
I literally had a guy come out of the polling site on my election day, tell me that he voted for my opponent because the mayor sent an email that morning saying he really wanted to work with her.
From his city email.
I'm trying to remember, but it was still like Scott's. Shouldn't say any names. It was very clear who sent it. So I don't know if it was from his city email, but it went out to everyone. I don't know who subscribes to his personal email. It was like it was like
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it done like that. At least
Yeah.
in Colorado, it's more like passive.
no, yeah,
Like,
he
yeah.
said it.
Well, back in like 2018, it really got into. We were pretty much running at slates, so you didn't really have to endorse because again, we were in the middle of the whole beginning of the whole redevelopment and renovation. So it was very much the pro future versus stop everything. So
Do you see as far as slates go, so being that everybody has to run every 2 years, do you see a mix-up of candidates, or is it often, like, in your experience, or are you saying, like, the same, like, slates being, like, will people pick, instead of the slate, they'll pick one from here and one from here and kind of mix and match?
It's mixed and matched, also depending on, last go around I was unopposed, so I wasn't in that race. And then sometimes it's just the person, whether or not how they're tied to the community, what that person has been like through the years. There's a lot of factors.
Small town politics.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Then, I had another question that led.
I have a couple comments from Jack.
Yes.
Jack says he lives in Boca. Boca proper.
Woo-hoo.
He's going to probably pay the most attention to the Branch versus Coke race,
Yes.
school board race, and Peggy and
Yes.
Schuster.
Chicken shoe.
And then he said that he remembers your race vividly because Drucker was appointed right before the election and then ran for the seat right after, and he thinks that gave her an unfair advantage.
It did. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, she had re-elect on all of her signs.
But it's not really re-elect.
Nope. But
She's
voters believed it, and they were like re-elect, and she had that, and she ran as a
incumbent.
By the way, I don't care if she ever sees this because this is on record, who had no good ideas and stole my ideas on a live debate. And I had to correct her because she couldn't get the idea out correctly. And I was like, I think what you mean is this, because that was what I suggested in the last debate. It was a really weird, but I appreciate the support. It was a really weird year to run. It was 2021. There was no live events. There was all online, all.
Are you guys, your March elections?
Yeah.
Most of Palm Beach County's municipals are March.
I think all of them.
All of them.
All of them.
Which is so weird because most of Broward's are November.
And I didn't know that until just recently. I was like, wait, what?
Unless like Indian Trails District. No, that was August.
So they're either March or August for some of our non-partisan races. But yeah, we definitely need to be watching the Branch and Coke race. Gloria Branch
that's a big one.
It's a big one. She's a very strong candidate for school board, and I think she's got a really good shot. So we got to get our walking feet on and boogie out there for her and Peggy. Yes,
Peggy.
Yeah. So I had another question, and I don't remember what it is. So what are some of the bigger issues that you're running on for your re-election campaign?
Well, mainly to continue moving forward. I've always been pro on the development, but doing it strategically and smart.
Smart development. Mm-hmm.
And when I say smart, like I take what I've learned again from doing it to come in and, when I sit down with the developers, first off, and this is something that I'm having issues with my opponent realizing is, there's property rights that come with.
A lot of people don't realize that when you buy property, there's rights that go with it, and you are allowed to exercise those rights.
And we don't want a government that's going to say no to you exercising your own property rights. Like it's like tyranny. So what I do is with a lot of the developers who come to me, and whether or not they're building in their property rights or if they're wanting more stuff, like I look at what they're bringing us. We've been doing a lot of mixed use buildings, for instance, and mixed use is a somewhat not new, but concept where you have a lot of times residential developers who are now doing a mixed use space. I'm going to get all technical here, but who've never really done retail or restaurant building or leasing or anything. So they don't necessarily think ahead to what that space needs to be desirable for a restaurant or a retail. I figure they'll just build it and then they'll do a build out later on.
They'll figure it out.
And
sounds like politicians.
And unfortunately,
no offense.
Or what they do
to my electeds in this room.
Or what they do, which is even worse, is they won't even underwrite it and they'll just end up using that space that's supposed to be mixed use for storage or a leasing office, or sometimes they put the gym in there.
And are you guys having to change zoning laws in order to accommodate these buildings?
I've been working on changing some of the wordage. So for instance, right now ours says that in mixed use, it defines that space as non-residential space. And I'm like, we need to change that words to say like commercial space, because there's a big difference.
To put more
between
restriction.
the two.
Yeah,
commercial
non-residential.
versus non-residential.
Yeah, non-residential
Yeah.
just means no one's living there, but it doesn't mean it can't be. It's still like not used for
Storage, leasing
commercial, where they're
office.
leasing and actually bringing
Exactly.
something to the community.
And then other things, and I'm a real estate broker in my normal life. That's the other part of this.
We all have other lives.
And then my sister does, specifically her foray in real estate is retail and commercial leasing. So her and I, this is what we talk about just normally.
This is just like your dinner. This is like your dinner conversation.
Yeah, she was actually on she used to go to different meetings or go to commission meetings way before I ever thought of running for commission. She was already making friends with like the people in the city and yelling at her, different departments and stuff in a nice way. They all like her, but so we have really long discussions on how to alter things to make the buildings better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's things that, like for instance, ceiling height.
Mm-hmm.
With this drop ceiling in here, this maybe a 10-foot clearance, maybe 12.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you go into a restaurant or a retail space, this is not what they want.
Mm-mm.
They want the open space. So we need to mandate that the finished ceiling height is at least 12 feet, or that's a 19-foot top ceiling height.
Right. So when you're rewriting things to make sure that it is attractive to bringing in that business, which is the whole goal of making a mixed-use building.
Because otherwise you get a whole bunch of useless empty spaces.
And then it just looks creepy.
It's creepy. It adds to, vagrancy problems and things like that. So it's little tweaks.
And then you're not getting the tax revenue either.
Exactly.
Which is kind of half the point.
Well, and then the
to some
building
of that.
is somewhat empty, and then there's security issues. Like, it snowballs if you don't do it right. So and the developers that I've now built relationships with, because we have a lot of repeat developers in Pompano, which shows that, at least they like working with us nowadays.
Instead of running away from Boca.
Is that, they can, when we sit down, I'm right into like, what's your unit mix? What's your parking ratio?
You're like, let's go.
Like, I don't need the fluff. Like, show me what you're doing. And they appreciate it too, because then they can just jump to that, and we really get into the nuts and bolts. And I've had multiple developers come back. They might be frustrated at the first meeting, but then they come back afterwards and be like, it's such a better project now. And they get excited. And we've had some of them. There's a really cool one that's coming, a residential project, a mixed-use but mostly residential condo, that started out there. What they could have been was just like a basic cereal box condo, cruise ship style, block everything. Instead, they're doing 2 towers. That when they first came to us, we're going to be these square towers. Then we talked to them more, and it's a popular kiteboarding beach. Now their towers are going to be like kind of amoeba shaped. Mm-hmm. To not deflect the wind as much for the kiteboarders. And it's just like this, it's become this beautiful project that they're so proud of as well, and it's going to be so much better for us.
And then it's going to be, attract more renters or, sales.
Exactly.
And
we
people.
We have another project coming up that everything was passed, the site plans, everything back in 2006.
Wow.
It was phase 2 of a condo project. Phase 1 built.
Slow wheels of government.
No, this was all them.
This is the developer.
This was the economy. Phase 1.
Oh, yeah.
Got their
2006.
CO
in
2008.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes.
Rough time for that.
It was real rough. That building sat mostly empty for a while, and so phase 2 never happened, but the property had the rights to do it. So phase 2, the city then leased as a parking lot. So we've been running as a parking lot since then. Mm-hmm. And now that developer has changed
It's not
hands.
the main parking lot, is it?
Mm-hmm. Oh. This is the main one.
At Atlantic and A1A?
Yep.
Wow.
The grass lot and the hard lot.
Wow.
I know where that is.
Recently changed hands. And now we're getting a condo hotel, double building with mixed use, restaurants, I believe a spa. And from sitting with those developers and talking with them and bringing up parking every single meeting, the original 2006 plans, Fishing Village wasn't there. Nothing in Pompano was there yet. So it didn't incorporate any parking. And I was able to get them up with working with staff and their staff to where they're giving us at least 150 spaces of public parking under their building.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it'll be covered public parking. And it doesn't replace them all, but it's a lot better than zero.
Yeah.
How many parking spaces are currently at?
I believe it's about 220.
Oh, really?
So,
it's a pretty big parking area, yeah.
Yeah, especially with the grass lot works. You can figure it out.
I think it's interesting how you're really highlighting how important it is that when you run for office to have some knowledge and some idea of like what it means to be on your city council or commission and what that job entails, because I think so many people jump in saying, oh, I'm gonna revamp my city, I'm gonna fix it, and not
I'm gonna drain my swamp.
I was just gonna say that.
Sorry.
And don't really have any insights on
in the swamp
on understanding like how important it is to have good commissioners or city council members, whether it's county, municipal, that really understand that makeup of their city, and that can actually give suggestions to the developers that are going to actually get the residents on board, instead of just, like, oh, I'm going to run on, like, no development. We're not going to do any development, and instead of having and picking, you're right.
Sorry.
And tyrannical overreach by trying to disappear people's property rights. But I just think that we don't pay enough attention to the candidates and vet them and make sure that they're properly able to, run those positions and understand. Abby went to every city commission meeting for like 2 years.
She served on the charter committee.
Yeah.
And the code enforcement
board.
Right. And so, I just want to say kudos to you for actually taking your experience and saying, how can I use this and help my city? And it looks like you're developing, great properties and projects that not only you're proud of, but the developer and your city and the voters and constituents that can be proud of.
And I think that's, some of it is hard knocks. As I was that idealistic. I was 30 years old when I decided to run against Lois.
Lois, right? Well, how old was she when you ran against her?
I don't know.
She's old now.
She was probably still in her 60s.
But I ran into it like wide-eyed.
Like, let's go. Well, that's how it was when I ran for city council. I'm like, let's do this. I was I literally, my file. They all know this, but I stamped my file at 4:45 when the deadline was 5 o'clock on the deadline, and my paperwork says 4:45. I was literally like, let's go. Like, woohoo!
Right, and sometimes that's how you get into it first. And, again, I had already gone through the 2 elections by the time I had just had to reevaluate myself. And again, if Pompano wasn't in the position it's at with the redevelopment, I don't know if it would have gone that way, because that wouldn't have been the right seat for me at the time.
Right.
And I think that's the other part of it, is realizing that, each of the people on our commission, they have their different strengths, their different passions, their different things. And it's great when you can have that balance of people who do that. Then it sometimes switches where you have people who don't understand just basic government, which is that you need the votes. Just because you've decided that something is going to happen does not necessarily mean it's going to happen.
That's why it's not very prudent of candidates to promise things, because you are not working in a vacuum when you get elected. And the bigger the pool that you're dipping your toe in as an elected official, the more ripples it's going to make.
Well, and this kind of goes back to what we're talking with the term lengths. Is, for me, I've always been trying to get the millage rate lower, because we're doing all this business. I want to see the return on investment. So I've come at it at different, going at line items, going at, different pots we have for different things. Finally, this year, after 6 years of it, I finally worked with the city staff, and we are actually reducing our millage by 0.5%.
Wow. Congratulations.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Which, getting cities, any government to do that is.
Yeah.
I can only hope that someday
You'll get there.
Someday.
Well, you guys do things more like by project.
I mean, the problem in Lighthouse Point, we had our first budget hearing last night. We kept our rate so low for so long, but now we've got all of these big infrastructure projects that we've got to figure out how to fund over the next, we've got like the stormwater and the canal dredging this coming year, and the stormwater is going to be a multi-year project. But then we've got bridges to replace, and each bridge is like, $5 million.
And you guys don't have
$8 million
bucks
a pop.
You don't have,
and we don't have the commercial, which Bill Riley just sent that.
Yeah, he did. Hi, Baba Bill.
He must be watching, or
oh, that's my sister.
That's your sister.
Okay, I was like, this looks like her, but not her. That's not her.
I got it too.
Is this your logo?
Yeah.
I love this.
Thank you.
This is so cool.
She was handing them out at the meeting last Monday, because we had the endorsement vote.
Is this your sign?
That's my sign.
I love this. I love the colors.
Cool.
I love the look. I love
the
this.
film background comes in handy. I know how to use Photoshop.
I love it. I love it. I'm so like, I really am into
the logo for Bill's campaign is. I saw the digital one.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Really good.
Yeah. I'm really we really learned a lot when we helped Marcy run, because she was very she was very adamant. I want a flamingo and I want it to be pink, and that's my colors. And I was like, "Are you sure you don't want to do red, white, and blue? You don't want to do red, white, and blue?" She's like, "No, it's Florida, it's Palm Beach County, and I want it to be flamingo, and I want it to be pink." And I was like, okay. We got the feedback we got on that everywhere. To this day, if I meet someone that her name comes up for some reason, oh, the pink flamingo. And I was like, yeah. So
I've kept it consistent.
I love
since the congressional races. In congressional race, it was instead of the green and blue, it was red and blue.
I love this.
And so it was more for Congress, but then those are Pompano colors.
Yeah.
So I
gotta-
switched it around. But
You got to represent what you're trying to
again,
represent.
I didn't have a budget, so I decided, I could either do, 200 of the square signs, or I could do 100 of these round signs, and the round signs just were so much more eye-catching.
They
Yeah.
are. I love it.
I love
we
that idea.
We used to put in a lot. Well, we still do. My mom is obsessive about she calls herself my momager.
Momager.
I love that.
Her favorite thing is the signs, and she'll reposition them, make sure that they're hitting traffic, sight lines. And
I love
I
it.
tell you what, I don't know who Jared has working for him, but his big signs are everywhere.
Oh, they went
now.
up like that.
like overnight.
Couple
after the
days.
Over in
primary.
that property that everybody got.
So I actually I called Brian Stenberg, shout out Brian, to help me figure out who owns that property, because there's a piece of property in Boca that everyone always puts signs out, and so during the primary it was like Sign City, and they were like I can't even tell you, there's like 15 big signs out there.
Yeah, 4x4s.
And then the next day they were gone, and we were all all the candidates were all texting each other, what happened to the signs? So it's a private property, and we're pretty sure she asked him to take it down. So, but he did a little research, and we think she'll probably leave that one up.
Really?
Yeah,
Which one?
The Jared Moskowitz.
well, it's amazing how many candidates don't get permission to put
Oh,
their signs
no,
up.
no. They
Even
just
the
stick
big
'em.
signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I ran against Deutsch, my sister was representing a property on US 1 over where Fuji Sushi used to be, near you guys.
What's it called? Fuji Sushi?
Fuji Sushi. It was up in Lighthouse Point,
I want
way
sushi.
back in the day.
That sounds good. I'm hungry.
Oh, it was so good. But anyway, so it got knocked down. But she was representing the property. So it had my sign up there, and it had her real estate sign up there also. So we have McGee twice. And he didn't get permission. He just threw a sign up there. She started calling. She's like, what were you thinking? You have 2 McGee names on this thing.
You really
can't
thought
just-
that was the way to go. Yeah, no. I know, it's crazy. And then a lot of people don't know, in cities like in Boca, you have to pay a deposit to put your signs out, and then there's still restrictions where you can put them.
When you're running in multiple cities, every city
Yeah.
has
It's
different.
Its own
But here's
thing.
what's fun fact is there's other cities who don't have it, and it's ambiguous, and that's more. I think that's way worse. I'd much rather have Boca's. Here's your rules. We're
Boca's.
running right now in Delray and Boynton, and I can't. If anybody knows the sign rules, please let me know. Because I haven't
I
been
like
able to get a
Boca's. I actually really
straight
like-
answer. from anyone.
I really liked and appreciated Boca's policy.
Yeah.
Because they were very clear. You pay your fine. You pay your fee.
Yep.
And they give you a whole printout.
Yep.
Very clear.
They're like,
what
these are
their
where you can put your
rules are.
signs.
And actually, they're pretty open with where
Yeah.
there's a lot of places.
As
not
long
that
as you
restricted.
pay your fine, and then pick up your signs, and they'll give you your deposit back, and they're really
This-
reasonable.
So I found.
Parkland is super locked down. You can't put signs almost anywhere.
Really?
Oh,
Is what I find interesting is that there are no political signs right now in Boca. Just like
There's still-
just Jared,
there's-
and
yeah.
now the half penny tax.
I drove by the Sandalfoot Cove Park on Lyons.
That's West Boca. but
I
yeah.
know it is, but I drove by there on Tuesday, and there were still a whole slew of primary signs still out.
really.
Because that's a polling location.
Yeah.
That church is a polling
Yeah.
location
I was going
there.
to say, the big signs have been coming out early and earlier every cycle.
Well, here's the problem because we're running with the vote by mails. So
Yeah,
the
they're gonna
cycle,
be out in a
the
couple weeks.
election cycle. I mean, ours for Bill are already up. Our big road signs.
Yeah.
We have to because vote by mails are dropping
that's what
probably
I'm
around
saying,
the end
the
of the month.
weeks, yeah.
So we
Yeah.
election cycle instead of it being like a vote. That's what I meant when it was early voting. It was just early voting and election day. That was it. So election was 2 weeks. Now it's 6 weeks.
Well, and early voting is so long. It's
2 weeks of
2
early
weeks.
voting, 6 weeks of vote by mail. This is ridiculous.
Well,
anyway.
oh shoot, there was something else I was going to say about the signs. I was talking to one of the school board candidates, and City of Oakland Park, they make you pay a deposit or a fee, but then the commission passed an ordinance within the last year or two where you have to submit written permission from each homeowner that you put a yard sign in their yard.
Oh, that's excessive. That's stupid.
crazy.
It's their own personal property. Oh, that's an infringement of property rights. I shouldn't have to justify to the city what I want to put on my own property. A temporary stick in the
What
ground.
city was that?
Oakland Park.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Boo! Bad government. They get the bad government award.
Run your city commissions.
Run. If you're in Oakland, you should run.
I know.
Just
I,
on
I-
that.
I know a candidate. I have a friend that's running for Oakland Park now, and so maybe he can.
Revise that.
and theirs is like Hillsborough Beach, where it's like the top 3. There's 3 seats up, so the top 3 vote getters get those seats. It's not. You're right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a question. Is your city districted or is it at large?
we're by district, and the mayor runs at large.
Okay. How do you what's your opinion on having districted versus not? I mean, I know you haven't run in non-districted for commission, but seeing it in other cities, what do you think?
I like the districted. Pompano's kind of unique geographically. We go from the beach all the way out to past
The
power
turnpike,
lines,
right?
The turnpike.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
wow.
So the different areas really have different personalities, different priorities. And so I think it's important for us to have the different things. Like, I tend to talk more about our shipwreck park and our reef systems and stuff, and then, our District 5, who's Palmair and the casino. So I think it's good. And then you also have a more tight group of residents numbers.
To connect with.
Well, to connect with and just to service, really.
Yeah.
To be responsive to I'm an inbox 0 person on my emails, like a crazy person.
I'm not going to show you my email.
I don't like that little red circle.
Or my text
I don't like it
messages.
either.
I don't like it. And so I've set up
that.
over the years, the best way to get anything done for me is send me an email, photos if there are some, or permit numbers, whatever it is. And then I just create these chains with city staff and whoever. Sometimes it blows up and we have to bring in like FPL and FDOT and who knows who else. But I found the residents really like it because then they are seeing the step by step. So it might take 3 weeks to get that light fixed because the first time I did this, it was a street lamp that was out, and no one could figure out whose it was. So it started bouncing between the city and
They
the
couldn't figure out
county
which
and
district.
FPL.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, we just didn't know who was responsible for that light. And by the end
And the
of
residents
it,
don't care. They want the
well,
light fixed.
By the end of it, I was like, this resident is either going to be very happy or will never send another email in his life. And at the end of it, he loved it. Like the fact that even though he was getting slammed with all these different emails going back and forth, even just seeing that action, even though it took a few weeks to get the light done, he saw it wasn't being ignored or sitting around. Stuff was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just crazy.
Figuring it
so,
out. I know.
Sometimes it actually works the opposite way because now my staff, and I've gotten feedback from them, they like this process too because they have all the information. They have everyone's contact information. I'm not like from get-go, instead of playing a game of telephone where I'm just telling things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we fix things same day,
That's
which
amazing.
has been
Having a paper trail, or in this case, a digital trail. I mean, I think it just makes it easier. And I know some people are old school, aka like my dad, and they like to just pick up the phone and call and get customer service over the phone. But like you said, stuff gets lost in translation, or you have to refer back to documents, and you don't have those documents. Having that trail just.
And every now and then I will get. I keep that one of those old school spiral carbon copy message books for the voicemails I get because on my voicemail it does encourage. Send me an email; it's much faster. But no, every now and then I get that.
Yeah.
And we have a few. I have older residents too that either don't use that or can't, and so I'll call them that way. It's just I try to explain. You're not going to get the quickest. In that route, it's much faster if you email me.
Yeah.
Because I'll do that from just whenever the red dot pops up.
So, do you have an office in City Hall?
Yes.
Like your own office, or do you share it with other commissioners?
I have my own office.
Oh, man.
Do you not have an office?
Have you been to Lighthouse Point? No. We don't have
Do you have staff, like your own assistants?
No, we have the city manager and his assistant city managers have 2 assistants that help us with some scheduling and stuff, but not really like our assistants.
Boca just added assistants for the city,
Oh, yeah.
for
I
the
remember
staff.
about that.
But it was
Bless you.
weird because they didn't. It's like they half did it. Last I heard, I don't know if it's changed. It's been a while since I checked because I've been eyeballs deep in state run. But they did they put the budget in to hire like 3 aides, and I don't understand how they're going to do that because if the part of being an aide to an elected is to help them and talk through stuff with them and stuff, and if they're helping multiple aides, how does that not violate sunshine? I mean, if they're helping multiple council members, I think there's
might just be more about like scheduling.
Yeah, but then I don't know if they need then I don't know. It just seemed like I was like either all or not. I feel like we either get one for everybody or we don't. Like it felt like the way that they sold it was like because they were going to be
It was really weird
aides.
when they rolled it out.
Yeah, they were selling it as not as like
Okay.
let me know. I'm very curious how that's rolling out for you.
And our city manager assistants, they help again with if we're doing Broward days or something, they help with the scheduling or hotel bookings and that kind of stuff, or and also just fielding calls. Sometimes a call gets rerouted and they'll take messages, let us know.
Make sure that it gets to you guys.
But yeah, I don't know. It might just be me. I don't know how well I can delegate. Like
It depends on how busy you probably get. There's that.
even busy.
So.
It's the director producer side of me is like I don't know.
I need to do all of the things myself.
It takes a while.
If I don't do it myself, it's not going to get done right.
And I'm going to get blamed for it either way.
Yes. there's that. I'd
Yeah,
rather
when
at
you
least take
when you have to hold
responsibility.
the accountability and
Yeah.
responsible for the outcome.
Yeah, I have a hard
it's
time
a little bit harder to
letting
let go of
things.
that.
But like scheduling's one thing. Email responses. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
So you're obviously November, right? And so you'll be on the November ballot on the vote by mails that go out, because even though I'm wrapping my head around this, your campaigns are all on the November ballot with everyone else.
Yes. Not me.
Not
but
you.
her.
No, you're right. I know. So do you think that there's is that a pro or a con?
I like it. I like more voters out for things.
Do people vote down ballot, or is there a high drop off for the city commission seats?
There's definitely a drop off, but I do think more people tune into what's going on because they're paying attention in general, as opposed to when we've had like our March special elections or something like that. I think you're not getting a better readout of what actually population wants.
Yeah, that's very true. I know in Boca it's like 10% of 10 to 12% turnout. So 10%, 10 to 12% of people decide for 100% of the city.
Yeah.
See, in Lighthouse
Crazy.
Points, it's like it's at least a quarter.
Yeah, we don't get
It's at least a quarter of the turnout.
people don't know what's going on in Boca. They
It's
don't
more
care.
than that. It's more than that percentage for registered voters. I mean, it's like a quarter of the
Yeah, no, we get like 12% of registered voters
yeah.
turnout. And I think in Delray and Boynton it's a little bit higher. I don't know. I guess Boca's just anyway, Boca's Boca.
A lot of times I think it has, if there's not anything major that's happening,
Yeah,
or
they're
people
not
are
ticked off.
happy,
Yeah, if people are happy, then they're just like, whatever,
Yeah.
they'll just get reelected. I mean, we didn't even have elections for like the last 2 seats that we ran because nobody wanted to run against them.
Yeah.
So, they changed the qualifying time. So in 22, the general election for midterms was like, I think November 8th. And I think the qualifying to run for mayor and city council and Boca council was like November 10th or something like that, November 12th. So even like candidates who like nobody was paying attention. And so they just got reelected and shoop, there we are. And then they tried to extend their terms next year. It was fun. Anyway,
Does Pompano have any charter questions on the ballot this year?
we do. What are they? Hold on. It's been we just came off a hiatus, so I'm like, I know we discussed this at length right before the meeting of it. We have one about. Hold on. You have to give me a minute on this one.
No, that's fine. Bill Riley
Baba Bill
says, "Go, Andrea."
Thank you, Bill.
And he was like, "How do I drop a pic from my phone to We the Locals?" I said, "We saw your pic."
Yeah, we should put it out. We can put it out.
Yeah.
So Bill Riley. Do you know Bill Riley? I don't know. Baba Bill. He lives in Boca, but he did a lot of stuff for candidates for like Darlene Schwaffer and different candidates that were
I'm
in.
sure I've crossed his path.
Yeah, he's like volunteer door knocker extraordinaire.
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
I'm definitely a faces person better than
Yeah.
a names person.
All right.
always.
Well, sorry, I can find a picture later. But yeah, he just door knocks
He'll
and
send us
hustles.
pics.
Yeah, send us a picture, Baba. Yeah, he's great.
And he's a big supporter of us, so shout out to Bill.
Yeah, he's a big
Yes,
supporter of us.
yes.
He's a regular. He's one of our regulars. We have a lot of
We
regulars.
have 7 charter questions on the ballot. in Lighthouse
7.
Point.
That's
Seven?
right.
We had the charter review committee last year, and so I sat on the charter review committee, and then I got elected to the commission, and so I was on both sides. Like I went through the review and made the recommendations to the commission, and then by the time the commission voted on it, I was on the other side.
So you got to vote on your own recommendations.
Yes,
Did you
I
vote yes on
I
all your
approve.
own recommendations?
I approve.
So nothing changed between
This is
when
how
you
this is how
No, we
tyranny
made-
works.
You know, it was interesting. Yes. If you ask people in Lighthouse Point, I rule with an iron fist.
Yes, she looks like it, doesn't she, ladies and gentlemen? Abby looks like she's ready to drop the hammer at any time.
No, it was interesting because, going through the process, and I may have talked about this a little bit last year, like you realize how little you can really change, like in the charter. You go through all of these revolutions and discussions and, it's like, oh, okay, so we put, like the commission has to have a special election in X number of days instead of Y number of days to fill a vacancy.
We're like, woohoo!
Yeah, like one of ours I know is it's wordage.
A lot of it's verbiage.
It's
yeah.
verbiage, and and like this, the one that and it got contentious when we were talking about it in the commission because the wordage that we're needing to remove is eminent domain, which just spurs up emotion. We're like, no, this word needs to come out because
But the people hear that and they're like, "Ah!"
exactly. So the phrasing needs to contain the word to say it needs to come out because
So people don't read it.
It has to do with, and it doesn't even. It's more about making sure that we're in compliance with the way the state wordage is.
Yeah.
And so it's not an exciting. They're not exciting amendments. It's just it needs to be
Fixing
done.
little tweaks and
But
stuff.
the wordage is just super touchy.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we had a very, very, very long meeting on how to get through the idea without scaring off everybody.
What's the longest city commission meeting you have sat through?
We've had a few that have gone. Let's see, we start at 6, so at least 6 hours.
Whew.
And then I think once we had to come back the next day because
Wow.
we have to stop by midnight. It's at 11 o'clock. Fortunately what we have is a afternoon meeting and an evening meeting.
Mm-hmm.
The afternoon meeting starts at 1. That might have gone longer because there's at least a few of those who were dark out by the time we got out of the 1 o'clock meeting. So maybe like 7 hours.
I sat through a Boca one. I was 10 hours one time. It was during Live Local.
Oh.
They discussed Live Local for like 2 hours. I wanted to cry. It was horrible. But yeah,
But yeah, no,
but that's long. That's a long
They're
time.
long. So sometimes it's good. Sometimes
How many attorneys are on your commission?
I don't think we have any.
Wow.
What?
No.
Attorneys can be
We have
long-winded.
2. Plus our city attorney who thinks she's a city commissioner. Council member.
No, we just have a city attorney. I'm a real estate broker. Rex is a realtor. I think we have a lot of realtors. I think Beverly's a realtor. Allison's a property owner. I think
Okay.
she has multiple rental properties.
Okay.
Yeah. Barry's retired, but he used to be in appraisals. So we have
It's all property.
it's mainly property.
Well, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, at the moment right now. Well, it's apropos. We've been doing so many big things.
I know Pompano
throughout
is really
Pompano.
like
Well, the
When
beauty
are they
booming.
going to be done with Dixie Highway? That's what I
very
want to
soon.
know.
Have you
Okay,
driven
good.
over there? We've been paving the roads.
I mean, I drive over there when I go to the BREC meetings.
Well, no, we paved the roads now.
Okay.
That last BREC meeting was when they were paving.
Ah, yes.
So they were
yes,
tearing
yes,
it up and putting the nice asphalt. Dixie now looks very nice, and the plants are in. Some of it had gotten a little bit delayed because there's a couple factors that are beyond us, which is like FDOT.
Yeah.
because isn't
And-
Dixie a state highway? No.
It's Florida. I don't know what
okay.
the number is.
I
Yeah.
thought so.
Well, and then you also have the Brightline tracks, which are right there that we're also working around, and
Mm-hmm.
they're about to do. They're doing rail crossing maintenance or upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like we don't want to tear up and repave that section of road just so you can tear up and repave that section of road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another group that you have to like find out what their schedule is going to be, and then they change it.
Yeah.
So
Do you guys have no horn crossings?
now we do.
Have you seen any changes with?
Pompano gets a lot of people getting hit by the bright line.
Yeah, we have a lot of people
Well,
in Boca
actually,
that gets
like-
hit by the bright line. That's
mean-
why I was asking.
The best thing I think for us is we are in line to get a Brightline station at Atlantic and Dixie. And that's
Really?
all-
It's
oh,
not
yeah.
that exciting. I'm just kidding.
We're excited.
I mean, I
Okay.
feel like they're adding so many stations.
Is it still going to be as
Is
fast?
it still going to be as fast?
Well, they'll do
Well,
like
local and express.
Yeah,
That like
okay.
that's what
I
they are
gotcha.
already doing that now. Like you can take an express train from Boca to Miami
Really?
without it stopping
because the
anywhere.
reality is until a train system has a number of stops, you're not going to use it.
Yeah.
Because like right now, I'm not going to drive to if I'm like to go to Palm Beach, I'd have to drive to Boca
Yeah.
to get on the stop, or if I'm going to Miami, I already have to drive to Fort Lauderdale downtown.
Yeah.
So why would I just not keep driving?
Mhm.
You know, because neither of those options.
I know. I was actually looking at both the Brightline and the Tri-Rail schedules yesterday because Deloitte, my former firm, is having an alumni event next month, and it's at their Brickell office at 5:30 in the evening, and it's like I don't want to
Don't
drive down
Drive
there.
in that
Yeah.
traffic
But the
into Brickell.
schedules don't. They're not good. Like I either
The
have to go.
Tri-Rail is probably better.
Yeah, but I have to go so early because you have to do the connector.
yeah, you
As
have
I
to go
say,
on the
and
people
Tri-Rail's
mover.
so far west.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
They
go on
have the
people
connector
mover.
now that gets you to Miami Central, but
Yeah.
like you have to time that right as well.
Yeah,
Well, and that's the exciting thing with Pompano and why, if this all works out, and I actually talk about this ad nauseum because I love the whole idea of trains. When I lived in DC for 2 years, I didn't have a car. I was a big fan of the metro. is Pompano, if we can get all the ducks in a row and all the departments in a row and there's a lot of ifs, but I'm working on it.
If.
We could very well have the Brightline station at Atlantic and Dixie, a tri-rail station at the casino.
Oh.
And then
Because there's not a tri-rail station out there yet.
No, there's not.
Cypress Creek and then Sample.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and this would be a destination tri-rail stop.
With casino.
Casino, Top Golf, a whole bunch of residential units in there, the live entertainment district, and they're going to be having concerts. So then that, and then there is a little piece of rail track that goes east-west over by the blimp base.
Yes. Yeah.
And we have kept the land clear.
That's the one that crosses over at like 15th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you
A
could
little
have like a
spur.
little mover
Connector.
train,
A
connector train
to
between the.
change lines.
That's exciting.
Imagine that.
It's so logical. It just might work.
It just might. If.
So yeah, so I've been running.
That's kind of cool.
So I've been ever since I found out about these things. Like I've been running around, and all my time at MPO, I bring up trains so often.
You're
It's
like the train
crazy.
girl.
As like self-appointed Dagny Taggart of Broward County, we're going to get the trains working.
Gonna have the trains up and running on time.
So and with Pompano, we've at least started the first level of the micro mobility with the circuit little golf carts.
You guys have circuit.
We-
Yeah,
we
Boca
s-
just
we put
implemented that too.
So we did that when I first got in. I got them to do that on the beach, and it's one of the most popular little circuit routes.
Yeah.
And so now we're expanding that into. We're going to be hopefully expanding that into the two neighborhoods just north and south of Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more people who can move around because the beach people love it. They mostly take it to Publix.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps a lot with that because there's a lot of retired or snowbirds who then have the option of not bringing down their car because they can get around now, and so that covers.
And then
the
they're
whole
not
beach.
driving on the road.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah! Praise the Lord.
And so then the next step after that's going to hopefully be
No offense, guys.
get a little bit larger, more like. In my head, they're more like a tram or a trolley. I get in trouble when I say the word trolley because people seem to think that means rail or like a.
No, like the drunk trolley in downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yes.
But whenever I say trolley, people think of San Francisco and New Orleans.
No. It's
like,
a
no,
car.
Like a cable trolley.
It's a cute bus, is what it is.
A
It looks
cute
like a
bus.
trolley, but it's Instagram worthy. And I've had to explain. I've had.
You
so
know
many
what you need to get them to
conversations.
look like? You know the buses in Colombia, like in Cartagena, the little buses that you go around. Have you been there?
No.
Oh, they're like, you know how they kind of reminded me of the Indian trucks that are like painted and decorated. Like they've got like this elaborate. I don't know how to describe them. There's a word for them, but like they just look like fun and like a party. It's like a party bus.
That's what I've had.
Yeah.
It's funny because I feel silly whenever I have this conversation with Broward County Transit or.
the stuffy
I'm
shirts.
like, I get the ridership that you guys have been focused on, but the ridership that I would like you to just give me. I'd love them to give me the bus, the 11 route. This actually doesn't touch your city at all, but the 11 route is the one that runs up and down A1A. Most of it.
Okay, yeah, the 10 is the federal one, right?
Yeah, and I was like, just run it from Port Everglades to Deerfield, straight up and down A1A, and make it look cute, make it Instagram worthy. Because the ridership I'm talking about is your retirees, your tourists, your snowbirds, and your people who would like to not drive back from brunch.
Or that
Guilty.
That shouldn't
Should
drive
drive
back
back
from
from brunch and don't want to pay for an Uber. Guilty.
Or would just like to do it like to hop, Bart. You could
Yeah.
do a crawl the whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, but that type of ridership is not going to get on the city buses because of the PR of
And
our
they're
entire
icky.
lives. That's the PR I'm
Right.
talking about, the ickiness. Like they need to be
The creepers.
they need to be Instagram worthy. They need to look cute. They need to be like the Sun Trolley was, or
So
go
when they get
modern.
on, they take a picture before they get on and be like,
Exactly. I don't even have a preference if we go modern or cutesy or what we do, but like make it pretty much the
Very
double-decker red
Florida.
buses of London that people want to get on these things. So I'm working on that. So it's interconnectivity of everything, and then run these trolley, tram, whatever the thing is, just not the bus that they use because they keep using those little hotel shuttle buses.
Ugh.
Well, it's just you're trained that you only get on that bus if it's going to your hotel.
Yeah.
Right.
The
The
sociological mindset is I only get on that bus when I'm told to get on that bus.
Yeah.
It's not a hop on hop off vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just have to get in the film industry we called it the zeitgeist, just
Uh-huh.
the overall vibe of society at that moment. And so that's what we need to tap into to get people on the bus.
Yes.
And so I push with that. And then the trolley that I want to do in Pompano would be an extension of Circuit that then would connect the beach to the new downtown district to the casino. Because my people on the beach, they would love to take a bus to the casino. They'd love to not have to drive out there. They tell me all that. They're like, oh, I would love that.
Yeah, like having to drive down Atlantic between, Federal and Power Line. It's just like,
Everyone's, it's so not that bad.
it's not, but like it.
If you're like hanging and chilling, you've been in the beach all day, and you're like, let's go gamble, let's hop on the bus and go gamble.
I spent 5 years in Miami and 2 years in LA.
Yeah.
We don't have traffic.
No, I know.
I can tell you when I drive to my Pompano office and I get off in Atlantic and have to drive to Power Line, it is not a treat all the time.
It's not a treat. Listen, it took.
I'm going west. That's not even where we get anything.
Exactly.
I was just going home today, and I was by Whole Foods in Boca, and like I couldn't even get across the highway. Just not even the highway. Glades. Traffic just backed up. I was like, it wasn't even school time. I was like, what is this? What's happening? What's happening? Did I miss something? Is there a game? What's going on? No, just traffic.
Well, it's the reality is 1,000 people a day have moved here since
Yeah.
2020.
Yep. I've heard that they're leaving. I read an article that people are leaving and there's like panic, but nobody's panicking.
No one's panicking.
No one's panicking. We're all like, bye.
A lot of the
Can we help you back?
Sorry it didn't work out.
a lot of the remote.
Florida's not for everyone.
No, we have like alligators and sharks and
Hurricanes and
mosquitoes
sharknadoes and like cracked sharks.
My favorite are the New Yorkers that are like, it's so hot here.
And we're like, yeah. Is your hair growing? Yep. Good. You're having the experience then. There you go. It's getting bigger. So here's some moose. Obviously, I don't use it.
But you're right. A lot of the remote workers have been called back to the office now, and
They're like, dang it.
I had someone that they bought a house right around the corner from me in Lighthouse Point. I talked to them when I was campaigning in 22, and she worked for Pfizer in New York City, and they had to sell their house because she got called back to the office like within the year.
Sorry.
And I'm like,
It's too bad.
maybe you should have rented. They
They
probably
made money still.
Yeah, I
it
was
was probably
gonna
still
say.
as things were swooping up. Now it's not so
Yeah.
great, but
Bill said, better to be a regular to we the locals than a regular daily. Great show, guys. We'll keep you regular, Bill.
Love you, Bill.
I love you, Bill.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about the trial. Yeah, I love the circuit thing. It gives we've used it once, my husband and I. in
I remember
Boca.
you posting about it. Yeah.
It was fun. It was because we live right on the edge of the geofencing because we live right by 95. Like
I have to pay to use it.
yeah, because
It's
just so does
outside of
so
the
are my
zone.
parents. So
Yeah.
yeah,
because you're north of Glades.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just outside of the zone. I think it would be like $3 to like
We
go
still have to
downtown
pay.
Meisner.
we still have to pay, but we're less. There's like
Yeah,
there's
it's like
like
a
the free
dollar.
within the CRA, and then there's like this right around
Yeah.
here, and then there's like a little bit more. So we're within the like second.
that's how the DC
level.
taxis were always set up. It was like there were zones. You actually
Yeah.
just paid from one zone to the other. So
Yeah.
it was really easy to figure out.
Yeah, it was good. Where in DC did you live?
I lived in Crystal City and Pentagon City,
Oh, okay.
and then worked at 14th and K.
Okay. Yeah. Growing up, a lot of my friends lived in North Virginia. And so I went there a lot to visit. You know, I was a teenager. Like, all my friends lived up there. Then they all went to college there. Then they all graduated and all worked for government contractors. So, yeah, that was, I've been there a lot and have friends who lived up there. My brother just moved from Richmond
Okay.
to Jacksonville. But, yeah, I love Virginia.
No, it was a fun time. It was for me. It was funny because for me that was where my like cultural shock came in because I went from Miami to LA. And
Yeah, you're like, I can handle that one.
right. It's like Cuban food, Mexican food.
Yeah.
Which one's who does which better?
Right.
They did have way better sushi back then. We're still catching up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, moving to the Northeast because I didn't know anybody. I had never even been to DC when I went for my job interview. 'Cause
Really?
My actual thought process was because I have family in real estate was to go to Manhattan and work in real estate to pay for rent and food. But then sort of like volunteer, or I don't know what my thought process.
You're like, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Was to do Broadway
Ah.
and get into the Broadway scene and the production of all that because I have no connection there in Broadway. Trying to survive in New York while meeting people of that terrified me. So I was actually aiming at New York, but the opportunity was DC. And when they're like, "Well, what do you think about DC?" I'm like, "Never thought about DC. Never been there," and I did love it. It's a beautiful town, and
It was.
It was.
I don't know about now.
Although
I've been there in a
although
while.
It took
so.
a while because I didn't. It's a little bit clicky. And
Yeah.
Like if you didn't go to the schools
Oh,
there
yeah.
or already know someone there, it took me a good like 6 months and joining a bunch of different charity organizations to like make friends.
Yeah. It's an interesting. I mean, it's cold weather. It's like if you're used to warm weather type vibes and people and stuff, and I still think like here we have our own little cliques and stuff, but especially because it's so transient here, we kind of are used to people coming and going. But I don't know, the Northeast is a little bit different.
And Miami and LA are super transient and super just like, hey, come join our table. Come with us
Yeah.
here. You want to go on a boat tomorrow?
Let's go, please.
Like-
Let's play volleyball on the beach
Everybody
together.
becomes your new best friend.
Yeah, would be my friend.
It might only be for that week and you'll never talk to them again. But at least they're
You get their
friendly.
phone number, and that's why I have probably 500 numbers in my phone because I never delete numbers, and I just save people's numbers, and then
Only
I'm
500?
like, I don't
I've
know who
got
this
way
person
more
is.
than that.
DC was the opposite. You would try and strike up a conversation and you might have a little, get to know each other. And then at the end, like, okay, nice meeting you. Bye.
And they just leave.
Yeah. No number exchange, no nothing. You're like,
You're like, what do I do?
you start over.
My God.
It's probably a jaded town because it's such a transactional town.
Yeah.
Like everybody's trying to climb that ladder, and
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
everybody's
okay,
out for something.
Yeah.
Everybody wants something from you, probably. So it's probably a little.
So-
That's
they-
more LA. LA is the
Yeah.
most
really?
transactional.
Really?
But it's because everyone's looking for work. So if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
actually working in the
So
industry.
So you're trying to like get in the industry or find someone in the industry who can give you that leg up to go to the next level.
But again, everyone's transient. So I think it's everyone's on the same page. Whereas
Yeah.
DC, you have the ones who have been there since college or before. So they already have their circles and work within that. But yeah, LA, no one has a circle. LA. I think my first year, I think I had 9 different roommates come and go from my house.
Really?
wow.
Did you know anyone when you moved to LA?
I had made connections through film school, and I had a producer who became my mentor who helped me get going.
Mhm.
But not really. Not
Did you work with any big names? I mean,
yeah. Christopher Walken, George Lopez.
I love Christopher Walken.
He's awesome. Again, all the guys from Reno did Balls of Fury, so it was actually really fun when we came back and did Reno, because so many of the people who were on Balls of Fury were guest stars on Reno. It was almost like going back to a summer camp you'd already been
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
And like 2/3 of the crew came back too. Biggest movie I only got to work one night on, but it was amazing, was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
So I worked on that in New Orleans, that scene where in the very beginning where he's running through the crowd with the baby, and it was like World War II, and they brought me in because they need extra people to handle 300 period piece background extras in Jackson Square.
Oh, wow.
I swear to goodness, I was hidden behind a pillar way in the distance to relay the call for action. And when I made the call, I felt like I time traveled.
Really?
You're just standing
That's
there
so
and
cool.
you're just surrounded. They had like a dozen Model Ts driving around and fireworks going off, and even the extras in that film it was like real vintage old shoes and mink wraps and all these things. It was just it was magical.
That's so cool.
That's the fun part of movie making.
Yeah.
Do you ever want to go back to it?
No, it's lost it now with all the CGI.
Yeah.
Everything green screen, and I like the real life. Give me the rubber shark. It's a different magic. And when I got back into it as in grad school, I ended up helping produce a student film that went to Cannes in their short film corner and that kind of stuff. And we did a lot of fun on site. I did a lot of the set design for that one and the whatever types of little special effects we could do. And I loved that, but that's where the program ended up dying, is because everything had gone so digital,
Yeah.
and it was much more aimed at like YouTube content and
Shorts and short attention
and-
spans.
And the other problem also is because of the phones having camera quality type stuff and everyone having it, is getting your story through and getting the focus on that has now gone who knows where. Like,
everybody's a filmmaker now. Everybody.
so no one is.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like that weird dichotomy is like
Mm.
there's so much content to siphon through it all is really impossible. So it lost a whole lot of magic. So I love that I did it when I did.
Yeah.
Because
You were in like the gold, not the golden, but like
Right.
the last vestiges of the golden age.
and there's people who love the CGI that love one of he was a UM grad who did Avatar and was all involved with that. So we got to tour the studios, and that was kind of cool because they described it as almost black box theater, where the actors had to act with almost nothing and pretend it all. So a lot of the actors enjoy it, but yeah, it's different.
Mm-hmm. So shifting back to politics for a second. Sorry, I
No
had a
worries.
question popped in my head. were you always, so you said that, your dad was involved too. Was your family, obviously ran as a Republican when you were running for Congress. So has your family always been conservative? Where did your values come in, and how did that affect anything that you had to do in Hollywood? Did you ever have that issue, or kind of talk about
Well, I've been
that?
Republican since I pre-registered at 17, and I blame all of my political leanings on discovering George Orwell very, very young. I was in 5th grade when I found Animal Farm, and then I was like, oh, I like this writer, so I also read 1984. And
In 5th grade?
Yep. Those were my book reports. It's been interesting because I love it because I got to reread them as a young adult and an older adult, and you get so much more out of them in different times of your life. But I've never liked the idea of Big Brother or anyone having that level of control over things. I'm very much a small government leaning. Sometimes even in the city, it kills me because I'm like, they want to put in different programs to assist things. And as much as I want to assist, I tend to believe that even in municipal, our job's to lay the groundwork, lay the foundation, the basic idea to attract in the entrepreneurs and the businesses, not to build them. And having gone the entrepreneurial route myself, I don't think you can make entrepreneurs. Like it's something that's inside of you or it's not. And so I conflict sometimes with some of those types of programming and things like that. But so that's where I started. My mom, when she moved, she immigrated here from Aruba with her family. And when,
Oh, really?
Yep. And when she was asked which party she wanted to be at the time, it was back in JFK and Jackie O days. So she was actually originally Democrat for those reasons.
Listen,
A lot of people were.
a lot of people were.
Yeah, especially you come over when you're 17.
Yeah.
What's Jackie O?
Yeah, that's who I want, because she was glamorous.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And my dad's always, because he's worked with both sides for so long, he was in the state attorney's office for a while.
Oh, really?
He used to prosecute homicides and capital offenses down here, and he was in Tallahassee for a bit. And so he's gone, I think he started as a Democrat. I don't know when he actually switched over, but yeah.
So you were always, and so when you went to Hollywood, was there, because it was not as polarized as it is now, or the agenda of like.
It was, because we had just gotten to Afghanistan. And when I got to
that's
Hollywood.
right.
So I had some heated debates with individuals out there, but it was still a different time. Like I remember,
you could have the debate and then like.
and then go out
Yeah.
at night and have fun.
Yeah.
So no, I was definitely that one. And in Hollywood, a lot of the crew is
That's what I've
more-
heard. I've heard that from different people, that a lot of the times
Yeah.
the crew is very conservative.
Well, they're conservative,
Or they're just-
they're working. They're not caught up in the rest of it.
They're not the elites.
right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the crew is that, and it became more interesting when I got to DC because I was again Republican, and that's where I heard, and that was Obama years. So I got there right before when Obama was running. And I remember hearing that
Hope and change.
that if you were how's the phrase go? If you are if you're a Republican when you're young, you're heartless, and if you're a Democrat when you're old, you're brainless.
Yep.
So that was the first time I heard that.
I'm
one.
heartless.
Yep. Apparently, they're always heartless.
Always heartless.
And that was the Occupy movement was happening.
Oh, yeah.
There's always someone naked. Every Occupy movement parade, someone would streak. It was like literally.
Really?
But then it was probably just one person in a
Yeah, it was
freaky
always just
thing,
one.
and not like pride parades where everyone's naked.
I was just gonna say now
Now
they
it's
just turned
just-
into pride
No,
parade
yeah.
and have their own. They have their own parade now.
back then it was the one. There was always one, and it was like, oh, there's a naked one.
There's the naked guy.
But so the Occupy was happening then, and at one point my roommate and I because she was in journalism, and we just had to agree not to discuss.
Yeah.
And that was fine. And
Yeah.
again, it was different. Like you could have that. You
Yeah.
could just not discuss that specifically. And so in DC, that was where I was the only one at assistant level who was a Republican. So I just hung out with the higher ups.
There you go.
There you go. And then what really was it? What was the thing that you were like, I'm gonna run?
It's really the Mitt Romney campaign and how he ran it. There were a few different issues that you could just see him taking stances that you could tell he didn't really care about. And the way in which they were doing it was just being so divisive, where you were losing people over semantics and things that didn't matter when we were trying to put the country back together. When, for me, a lot of it's the economy. That's the thing that affects every single one of us. And, the social issues and stuff, I'm more about the government being out of it all and, back it out. I always thought one of the big places where we made a wrong turn was when we were legalizing gay marriage or fighting against legalizing gay marriage. I say, take the word marriage out. Make it as sexy as an LLC. Cross the board. And
I don't think the government should have anything to do with marriage.
right. Like I get it for, the ER emergency room visitations or, tax rights. If you're sharing your life with someone either way, it's, but again, get the government out of it. But at the same time, preserve the sanctity of the word marriage or matrimony for the religion. So make it 2 documents. Let churches do what their thing is and and do the legal, again, sexy as an LLC. And just call it a day. And instead they went really polarized, and I think that really has hurt the Republican message. Now, how many years later?
I think it's starting to come around because we've got our log cabin Republicans.
but it took forever.
It took a very long time, yeah.
Right. And it was more that emotional argument. Like how many people I knew who had, but my gay friends just want to get married and have a wedding, and that's lovely and all. But on the policy level, it was a stance that didn't need to be taken so hard line.
Right.
And again, it messed up so much more, way beyond that.
I mean, we're really good at that. Republicans are really, really good at snatching
defeat from the
jaws of victory. You knew where I was going with this, Abby. Am I getting predictable, guys? Am I getting that predictable? Oh, no.
I think we just hang out too much together. And we read each other's minds.
We usually do every couple of weeks. But like the way the schedule worked, we had an episode last week, and now we're back at it. And so I think it helps.
But no, you're right. It's getting caught up in the minutia that. And losing sight of the big picture thing,
right?
And first you gotta have that vote. Like the number one is you need to have the butt in the seat.
We need to win. It's like the argument that everyone's had over like vote by mails. It's taken for so long for the Republicans to finally realize that no, we don't want to have vote by mail. We don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. But if we don't, we lose, and we will never win ever again. Ever.
Well, if we don't, if we do and we do participate, then the Democrats will actually come around and say, we can't do this anymore because it makes us competitive.
I mean, we're still losing. Well, they have more registrations still than us. And it's not because they have more registered voters. It's because they just have more people registered to receive their vote by mails than we do. And if we don't turn that around, we'll lose on election day.
But we still have to be able to connect to voters where they're at.
Yes.
It's like it's a twofold issue because it's like, yes, we want Republicans to vote, but we also need to make sure that we're educating them on the issues and the candidates and making sure
ballot amendments.
Exactly. And we can push people to vote down ballot and all of that kind of stuff, but especially Palm Beach County, Broward, we're not red, we're very, either a mix or, Broward is blue, Palm Beach is maybe purple.
We don't know what we are.
But it's like
figuring it out.
We're not reaching reaching voters where they are to get them to participate.
Sorry. It's complicated. Our Palm Beach County's Facebook status is it's complicated. Now I'm dating myself.
If Broward was an emoji, it would be the...
And Palm Beach County would be with a smile. We don't know what's happening. Oh my gosh.
And then it gets so complex too when you get into the municipals versus the state and the nationals.
Yeah.
Because to win at municipal, which is where you got to get your bench going, you have to be like, you guys keep playing your game, and we're going to talk about
roads and development. Yeah, exactly.
Real sexy stuff, but it's real stuff.
I love it.
Bridges and roads and canals,
budgets and millage rates,
stormwater.
Oh my!
I remember one of my first ones that I have. It's silly looking back because I didn't know what this was when I first got in. Someone was talking about lift stations. I was like, in my head, the lift station was the thing that lifted the cargo container from like a train to a truck.
Yeah.
Like, lift station. No, that's not what it is at all.
What is it?
It is the sewage thing that because we're so flat that we have to keep lifting our sewage to then let it keep draining with gravity. And so I went and got a tour of all of our lift stations, which is quite
How many do you have?
Experience. Oh, they only took us to like 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
Not all of them, but all the different types.
The lift station in Lighthouse Point at my end of the town is a sticking point between the city and the county.
Is it a stinky point?
It's not a stinky point, but like
only when they open them up.
It's the county operates ours. They're county lift stations, and so we have to rely on the county to come out and do whatever they got to do. And they've been working on this lift station since before I ran.
The first time?
Yes. and they have had
Broward's gonna Broward.
2 generators. It's the generator. It's the backup generator that they have on this lift station, and like they've had 2 there because for whatever reason, like they had to take the one and service it, and it's back, but the other one's still there, and they've been figuring out like the landscaping around it to like kind of hide it, but not hide it because people need to be able to see around it because it's the fork in the road.
Oh, is that the one at the triangle?
Yes.
I know what it is.
See, she knows.
Well, this is a fork in the road. I knew it was like,
It's at the fork in the road. And I mean, during COVID, they had that road closed because the county damages the road. Then they got to dig up the road and repave it. And like they had it closed for months. And it's just, it's like the boondoggle on Lighthouse Point.
The boondoggle.
That type of stuff is the things that, I actually have come to so much more appreciate my city because we do our own water. We actually do their reuse
We do.
water.
They do our south half of the town.
I'm just going to be like, we're so good in Pompano. We help them. We help
My
water
half
by
of
the
town.
sea. We do
My
all
half of
sorts
town
stuff.
is on the county water, but the south half of the town is on the Pompano water and the reused water. And they're slowly moving north in the city to switch everybody's sprinkler systems to reuse. But I'm going to opt out. You know why?
No, why?
I have a well.
Oh, lucky.
My sprinklers are on a well.
Okay, so at least you have the well going.
Yeah.
Because here's why you should try and get everyone to opt in. Because the biggest
Oh, no,
part-
everybody, most people are on city water for their sprinklers, and they should definitely opt in. But I don't pay for my sprinklers now, and I don't want to
You're
start.
on a well, so it's a little different. But
Yeah.
the amazing thing about the reuse water is that it's actually, because people are able to water their grass whenever they want, we've actually pushed back saltwater intrusion.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And that's why we want to keep going north with it. And so it's actually pushed back the saltwater intrusion line to protect our inland wells. So even your well, so you got, since you don't need it, but get everyone else to do it to help protect
Yeah.
your well. Otherwise your well with the saltwater could turn brackish.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's a slow process.
Interesting.
Yeah,
You
the
learn
way-
a lot.
I love this stuff.
there was
I've had so much education.
my
I-
issue that I didn't know anything about before I ran was bunkering.
I don't know what that is.
That is fueling your boat behind your
Oh,
house.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know that
we
one.
don't have.
Yeah. We were the only city in the state.
Well, back during the COVID days. So
Ah.
when COVID, so my 2 big fight, 3 big fight, I had 3 big fights in COVID, but the 2 bigger ones was I was the first Broward County anyone to rail against them closing the beaches.
Amen, sister.
Good job.
I found about it the night before. My post was up like 6 in the morning the next, like as
You're
soon
like,
as it was closed.
no.
Like, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
No.
People socially distance on the beach already.
Uh-huh. And you're in the sun. That's literally what got me into those parks.
And Marcy.
And yeah, Marcy was the beaches and I was the parks. I was like, I had 3 kids. I have 3 kids, 5 and under, and we lived in a 2-bedroom condo. And I was like, and it was March. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with these children?
Well, I have all my snowbirds who literally, a lot of them, their whole day is just sitting next
On
to
the
each other
beach.
on the beach.
They're
Like,
tanning,
they're not
tanning their
interacting.
leather skin.
Yes,
They're
but
not-
their vitamin D levels are off the charts.
And they're not interacting with anybody else. They're
Right.
not getting anywhere close to anybody else.
They're just
But
reading.
now by closing the beach, everyone was on that little sidewalk of ours now.
Yeah.
Everyone was
Oh,
walking. You
geez.
saw everybody.
And then they were
it's
trying to go around each other and walking into the street. And I almost hit people during COVID because they would just walk into the street to go around each other to avoid each other on the sidewalks.
So that was big fight one. Then the other one was when they closed the gas docks.
Mm.
So they closed the gas
Oh,
docks
yeah.
in Pompano at one point, and I think all throughout Broward because too many people were going on their boats all at the same time. And
The boat that you go on by yourself with your family that you're already in a house on, out on the ocean, a mile away from anyone else.
so I got a call. One of
Logic
my,
is not government strong suit.
and one of my supporters runs a gas dock, so he's the one who filled me in on what was happening. He's like, because they've closed the gas docks, people are taking their jerry cans to the Shell station,
Oh, gosh.
filling them up,
Oh, God.
and then
so
carting
dangerous.
them back and forth to fill their boats.
How many
That's
jerry
so much
cans does it
safer.
take?
That's a lot of jerry cans.
So I said,
This is a math question.
send me an email, because now I already explained my email chain.
Yeah.
Send me an email, so and write this all out. So he sends me the email about it, what's going on with jerry cans and the gas and people gassing their own things. And I forwarded that email to everyone. I mean, everyone. DeSantis, Scott, Rubio, my mayor, the city manager, Chip, just everyone. And it turned out they were all men. And so instead of doing that, I was just like, gentlemen, we can argue all day about what to do with COVID, but this is a danger. Someone's going to rear end someone and blow themselves up.
Yeah.
And so I brought that to light. And I don't know where it went from there because I didn't keep my email chain going, but the gas docks were open in like a week and a half.
Oh my gosh, that's
Awesome.
crazy.
Yeah,
That's
I tried
awesome.
to do
Good for
that.
you.
I tried to do that with the gyms. You know, I was I was raring for them to reopen the gyms. I was like, people need to be exercising. This is crazy. And I didn't get very far with our county commissioner.
Well, this was more the
You could blow someone up.
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
is going to blow themselves up.
Yes. Yeah,
or
there is
drop
definitely
massive
safety
amounts
risk.
of gasoline into the canal systems. One of the two is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
So-
crazy.
You might not know anything else, but clear and present danger.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so Andrea, we got to wrap up. How can people follow your campaign and support you in your re-election bid?
My website is McGeeforPompano.com.
Okay.
MCGEE for spelled
Like
out.
McGee and me?
FOR. Yep, like McGee and me, or me and Bobby McGee. And Pompano, spelled Pompano. And I'm posting things there. I'm going to have a meet and greet at 26 Degree Brewery on Friday the 13th, which
Ooh.
should be fun. It's from 5:30 to 7:30, and then anyone who feels bold, there's karaoke afterwards.
Oh,
Nice.
Fun.
Yeah, I try and keep them light, and come whatever questions you have. What do you want to talk about? Open book. So come out, come meet. Me throwing a few others throughout and I post them on the website. I'm also on Facebook under Vice Mayor Andrea McGee and Andrea McGee myself.
I think I followed you under our We the Locals Facebook.
All right, perfect. Can we drop
I
our
did, I
socials
added
in the
Oh,
chat
yeah.
later?
Yeah.
Or in some of ours in the show notes or whatever. So,
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
all right. So just thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank
This
you.
has been
This
a lot
has
of
been
fun.
so fun. This is my first podcast.
Oh, really?
You did
Oh,
great.
you
You
did
did
great.
great.
It's so
yeah,
much fun.
you did an amazing
This was
job.
fun.
It was great learning from you today, and thank you for joining us. Be sure to check us out at We the Locals FL on Instagram, We the Locals FL on X, We the Locals on Facebook. Don't forget, we have Sam Stern on our next episode, September 19th, for State Attorney for Palm Beach County. You don't want to miss that. Be sure to check out our website, WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. You can email us any sponsorship questions about our show or our guests. We'll make sure to get them your questions. You can email us at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. Have a great night, everybody, and stay local.
Bye.
Bye.
I wasn't sure which camera I was supposed to look at.
Oh, yeah. That's your camera right there.
'Cause you guys